I'm Sid Weiser. I was the first president of the Bernardo Jewish community, which later evolved into Temple Adat Shalom. When we were starting the community, we wanted to contact all the Jewish people in the North County area. So my wife and several others called every Jewish sounding name in the telephone book and got some very interesting responses from people who were not in fact Jewish. My daughter Michelle was the first child named in the temple in 1975. She's now married and has a child of her own. Time flies.
When I was president, the main mission, I think, was to have our own temple, which would eliminate using a Christian facility and the terrible stress of setting up and removing the equipment every Friday evening after services.
In 1979 and 1980, the biggest challenge as president, when I came in 1980, was to take the mindset of building an Escondido on this very large, magnificent property with architect-drawn plans for a temple, and switch that over to something that was much smaller in scale, that was basically built by the congregation members themselves at very low budget in order to make the temple a solvent organization and succeed.
The biggest challenge, I think, was when I became president, we were working in out of the three houses, and we knew we had to get bigger than that. We had already started fundraising. We got architecture and builders together and started to put this building. Started to build this building.
So the biggest challenge when I was president, actually there were two. We had just started Sanctuary 2000, and we had $6.8 million to raise. And the second was renewing our conditional use permit so that we could build our sanctuary.
Among the challenges during my presidency was renewing financial resources from the younger members, because the contributions from some of the older members were dropping off. And we needed to keep our financial commitments as our membership was peaking at well over 600 members.
One of the challenges during my presidency was a transition in leadership. We went through not one but two transitions in rabbinic leadership during that time. And navigating that process in a way which was collaborative rather than divisive to come out with a consensus for the congregation was certainly challenging.
So the biggest goal when I was president was to make sure that everything we did was transparent. We were very concerned with making sure everybody felt like they were part of the decision making and that they understood what was going on.
The mission statement for Temple Adat Shalom during my presidency was basically unchanged from previous administrations. However, it was somewhat complex with a lot of bullet items. I preferred to shorten it up to just the preamble, which is the Center for Jewish Life in North County Inland.
As the current president, our mission today is to be the center of Jewish life here in North County Inland. And when we say the center of Jewish life, of course, we're talking about Jewish religious life in terms of services and life cycle events, but we're also talking about Jewish social life here through our Havurah and Men's Club and Sisterhood and all the other activities that we do to drive the Jewish community here to Temple Adat Shalom and make this really the place that all the Jews in North County Inland want to be.
Being president really had a personal as well as a community importance. I had small children. I needed to keep a temple alive here with a Hebrew school. And I knew that those were my personal goals. Furthermore, I envisioned a larger Jewish community. We had the Jewish people here. I envisioned enlarging this congregation.
What did president mean to me personally was that I basically had an opportunity to show my children what Judaism is all about in a working environment of families working together. What it meant to me as president was accomplishing a goal of establishing a long-term Jewish community in the Poway, Rancho Bernardo area. And what it meant to me as president was getting the job done and feeling good about it, and I did.
Adat Shalom is our spiritual home. It's where our children were educated. It's where My religious education really took hold. And by being president, it was a way to say thank you.
I think one of the most memorable times was being here when I think they first broke ground for the temple.
Yeah.
That was probably the most meaningful thing for me.
We worked so hard to get that done.
We were watching it from the beginning. I mean, we were there when they put the shovel in the ground, which was exciting.
Mhm.
And we were there while we were in the old buildings. You know, we have memories of what went on in those buildings. And we saw the future.
As far as memories, there are several that come to mind. First was welcoming Rabbi David into our congregation and helping to bring stability to the congregation. I was also surprised at how well received my remarks at Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur were. Given the state of the economy, yet my remarks really resonated with people, and I was glad about that.
One of the most fun things that happened when I was president was the 36th anniversary of the temple and everything that went along with that. But the gala in particular was a huge highlight.
Being president meant an opportunity to serve the Jewish community. When I became president, we had 105 members. And when I left the presidency, we had over 300. I'm grateful that I'm part of this message that is being given to you all, and I wish you all the greatest success as the years go by.
Perhaps the most significant achievement in crass terms would be creating a temple that was solvent and the ability to move forward with a smile on everybody's face instead of a lot of worries.
The three most memorable rewards I recall from my term as president were bringing in new, younger members into the leadership, the commitment to expand the sanctuary, which has been done, and having Jewish Family Service bring their North Inland Older Adult Center to Adat Shalom, which helped make Adat Shalom continue to be the center for Jewish life in North Inland County.
So one of the most significant achievements I felt I added to the temple was at the board we established a formal goal setting, measurement, and reporting process, which I'm glad to know has been continued by subsequent boards.
I think our biggest achievement as a board when I was president was communication and making people feel like what they thought mattered. We listened to everyone and people felt that.
The most significant achievement I feel during my presidency was really being able to maintain the level of service and programming that we had during difficult financial times. We had to make some difficult choices, but in the end, we were able to continue to offer the different programming to which congregants are accustomed to during that time.
My advice would be that to do exactly what is being done, keep the service and the speeches short, keep it interesting, as Rabbi David has done so well.
I think we have to grow this congregation with the young people in the community. We have to offer things to them to get their children into the school, to continue the growth.
Advice I would give to current leadership is never give up. If you attempt something and it fails, look at what's missing. Do you need more people? Do you need to try it a different way? But try it again until you succeed.
My advice to current leadership would be to try and be as communicative with the congregation as possible, try and provide them with as much information and transparency as you can. Generally, if people understand the basis on which decisions were made, they will tend to agree and support the decisions of the board.
My advice to current leadership, who I think is doing a great job, is really just to show up, to be involved, to physically be there and show your support for the multitude of events and programming that we have going on around this place.
One initiative that I'm working on is also trying to have some new ideas and try to bring some, have the temple take one step forward. So I'm working with all the staff and especially the clergy to really start thinking out of the box and to try to change those things that maybe are getting a little stale while keeping those things that make us who we are.
One more piece of advice for current and future leadership. The future of the funding of this temple is going to be in legacy gifts. And we've started a program, we just need to really put a focus on it and get people to understand that even a 2% gift from their estate is going to make a huge difference to Temple Adat Shalom. I mean, really, can your descendants live with 98% of what you've got to leave for them? Just so 2% maybe could come and keep the spiritual home that you love running for the next generation?